One of my followers saved my life. I have to start the story with how this story started. So, this August, it was back to school night at the high school. And I went with Kevin. We were sitting in the auditorium. We were talking. We went to all the classrooms and saw the teachers. When I got home that night, I got on TikTok and I had a DM from somebody who asked me if I had been at the high school for back to school night. She said that she was sitting a few rows up from me and swear she heard my voice, which creeps me out. I actually have people all the time recognize me from my voice. She said, I was pretty sure it was you, and I didn't want to be like a creeper and find you and come up to you and be like, hey, I follow you on TikTok. I wish she would have. About a week later, she saw that I had posted that I had ended up in the hospital on my birthday. Since we had figured out that we lived in the same town, she DM'd me and said, hey, just let me know if you need anything. We were DMing back and forth the whole time I was in the hospital. And she told me that she was really worried when the hospital released me to go home and said everything was fine. She told me that she had been through kind of a similar thing and that it had gotten really dangerous. She said, you probably need surgery because you've had so many bowel obstructions and because you've been in the ER so many times this year. But I told her all of my doctors have said I'm fine. I don't need surgery. I just need antibiotics and to make sure that I stay on top of my diet. I really did not think that I needed surgery, and I was trying to avoid that. After I got home, I gave her my cell phone, and she texted me a couple days later just to say, and I'm thinking about you. I know you have everything figured out and planned, but I just wanted to plug her GI surgeon. He was my surgeon, and he is the best. He saved me. She had told me that her bowel obstruction had perforated, and she told me just this text here. It's so painful. I'd be worried about perforation. Maybe go back in and check. You guys, this little text literally saved my life. I told her I'm just going to drink a lot of fluids and stay in bed. I'll be fine. But I did eventually ask her for her surgeon's phone number. And after spending literally the entire month of August in bed, sick as a dog, unable to even stand and walk downstairs to the kitchen, I called Chelsea Surgeon, who had just retired. So they sent me to the surgeon here in Tucson who had taken over for him. When they answered the phone, I literally told them I'm just having stomach problems, but I have a TikTok follower who's afraid that I'm going to die if I don't see a surgeon. So can I set an appointment? They ran through all my symptoms with me and they actually got me in the next day. After 10 years of suffering with abdominal pain and other mysterious problems like chronic fatigue, 20 major episodes this year that made me unable to get out of bed for a week or two at a time, 4 solid years of being on antibiotics for infections in my gut, and every other doctor saying just stop eating raspberry and blueberry seeds. Dr. Gustafson in Arizona said, why don't we take a little peek at what's going on inside? Because your symptoms are far worse than what I'm seeing in the imaging. So on September 26th, she took a little peek by cutting me completely open all the way down my belly. She found that my lower intestinal tract was adhered to my abdominal wall with scarred tissue and adhesions, and that my bladder and my lower colon had grown together. Pathology showed that my intestines had perforated. It's amazing that I didn't die. I have been so sick. Because of all the scar tissue, my intestinal tract down towards the end was so tiny that I was having problems just from eating applesauce and yogurt. So Dr. Gustafson cut out a big part of my intestine, peeled all of the intestine that had grown onto my bladder off. That took quite a long time. I peed blood for like a month. Unglued everything from my abdominal wall so that my intestines are no longer super glued onto my core. Through it all, my TikTok follower Chelsea texted me in the hospital to make sure I was doing okay. It's a pretty awful surgery. I ended up bleeding out after surgery because of all the blood thinners that I'm on for genetic clotting disorder. And it was a great risk to my life. I felt terrible for a long time. But as soon as I knew that I was going to survive, I texted Chelsea and told her, you literally saved my life. When I was finally up and walking, Chelsea actually came over to my house and we met in real life for the first time. I am now 3 months post surgery. I feel better than I have in a decade. My white count has been so high. I've been so sick and had such horrible infections for so many years that I've had doctors who thought that I had cancer. It was just a thrashed intestinal lining that everybody missed. If this TikTok follower had reached out to me, I would have just kept following what my doctor said. I would have just avoided raspberries and blueberries and taken fistfuls of antibiotics. And at some point, because the damage was far worse than the imaging suggested I probably would have ended up with a life-altering rupture. By the way, even after my surgery was scheduled, I kept saying that I wanted to cancel it because I didn't think it was necessary, because my other doctors didn't think it was necessary. And Chelsea was like a bulldog. You have to do this, Jenny. You have to do this. So thank you, Chelsea. Every time I eat blueberries and raspberries, I think about you.